back again, guys, after a bit of a hiatus. I'm joined with Tyler Mislawchuk, who loves to talk probably just as much as me. We're going to have a little bit of a debrief, talk about what we've seen in the triathlon world that's been going on, and then try and answer a few of the questions. I posted something up on my story. So if you're not following me, follow along, and then next time you can ask a question, and we might pick that, and we'll have a little chat. A lot of training questions have been coming in, but before we go into all that, Tyler, how you been, mate? How are you keeping?
Yeah, good. I think also add with that is that we love a voicemail or voice memo, so we can even play it on the podcast if they've got a question.
We
Uh,
do actually. Yeah, that's what we
yeah,
need. We need some voice memos. So if you send us some voice memos in, you'll probably definitely be picked. You can send them to either me or Tyler, whoever you fancy. Uh, what have you?
yeah. I think
Oh,
to add to that, I'm gonna be on quite a few episodes coming up. We're kind of doing a little series, so anything, everything triathlon training, what's happening in the world, we'll kind of ping all over the place and just see where we go with it. But yeah, excited to be here. I just raced in for context. I just raced Super League for those who don't know last weekend in Toronto, and now I'm training and living in Flagstaff, Arizona, which is 2,100 meters up. So training definitely changes up here.
how was your How do you find the swimming up there? Because like when I go to Font, mate, and I have to swim long course is only 1,850, but I think 2,100. I've been to 2,100 before, and that extra, you notice it, don't you? That extra like 15-20% is flipping grim. So how the hell do you swim up there?
To be honest, all the sports, anything over like a 1 minute rep are you really notice as soon as you get to threshold. So anything under threshold, you can do longer reps and adjust it. It's not too bad. But as soon as you dance with threshold, it becomes insane. Even like an example would be like swimming hundreds in the pool isn't so bad. You're going to be a bit slower. But if you swim 200s or 400s, it's
Yeah,
significantly slower. And the track is the same. For example, I ran on Saturday, I ran mile reps and then went into 500s. And the mile reps were pretty far off what I would run threshold. And then the 500s were pretty close to what I'd run at sea level, given a little bit more rest.
that's exactly what I find it actually, because when I do 400s, I'm in fun. I can hit pretty much the same times as what I would back home at sea level, not much difference. But K reps are pretty grim. Any longer, really tough. And then same in the pool, like hundreds, I'm like a bit slower. It's more like it hits me a bit on the recovery where I really notice it. But swimming like 300s and 400s, I was just trying to literally survive swimming 400s. Like I felt awful. I felt like I had no power in the water. My technique was like struggling. I just find it so hard at altitude, like swimming, like grim, really, really grim. Um,
The one thing that's hard about altitude is balancing. Is obviously you come here to get tons of hemoglobin mass. For those who don't know, that's what the measurement is. It's you usually do it through a CO2 rebreather, so it's not as easy as a normal blood test to measure. But you come there for that. But the hard part is balancing, not losing your neuro sensations, especially swimming and running. Riding doesn't matter as much, but there's a technique component of, well, if you swim slower on all your reps here and then you go down to sea level, you lose some of that finesse of swimming faster. And the same goes for running. So it's kind of balancing being able to do those shorter reps so you don't come down and go, oh man, I forget what it's like to run 330 Ks because at altitude I could only run 4 minutes a K.
who are you coached by then?
Mark Antoine Christian. So was the former national team coach. Now we don't really have a national team coach for Canada. But funny story is Mark and I raced 2011 Junior Beijing Worlds together. So that's a long time ago. But we both raced. Yeah. Then the Brownlees won senior. I think British had 6 men on the world podium between U23, elite, and junior that year. But yeah, it ages me a bit, and so we've been working together the last 4 years, and yeah, it's been super fun for me working with someone who I could call a friend and a coach, which is not always the case. It's I know listening to you talk about finding a coach is a hard part, and I think it's for anyone. Finding a coach that works with you is not as easy as it looks.
Yeah, because you don't just want to pick anyone, do you? And like, because if it goes bad, it's like you've got to then spend all that extra time finding another coach or thinking about what you're going to do, and then getting back to where you were before it started to go bad. Because it's like you can't just pick stay with them for a month, can you? And be like, oh, it wasn't working. It's like, you've got to give it some time to find out whether or not it does work, haven't you? So really, you need like a year, don't you? And if it
Yeah,
does,
and to be honest, totally honest, so I started getting coached by Mark right around the time I tore my Achilles. For those who don't know, I tore my Achilles in 2021, but going to the Olympics, and then I started getting coached by him after. And
yeah,
obviously, after you tear your Achilles, is going to be a bit of a rough patch. Like you're not going to be flying. And Mark started coaching me in that period, and people were like, you're off. Maybe you can consider a different coach. And my whole thought was, well, I've only started getting coached by Mark just now.
yeah,
And it's in a rough phase. And like you just said, you can't give a coach 1 month, 2 months. You have to give it a time. But that's also like for you or me now, I'm 30 and you're older than me, is that going to a new coach is a risk, especially at this point in our careers. Yeah,
yeah.
it can be positive, but you could waste a year or 2 years and, figuring out it's right or wrong. My question actually bouncing back to you, because I've listened you talk about, self-coaching versus coaching. What do you think like the top few things that why you don't have a coach?
Oh,
If you
for
were to
me,
list three things why you don't want a coach or don't have a coach.
I don't really want to take the risk, of like, because I don't know who I would actually go with. So I wouldn't really want to take the risk of having a plunge. I have had coaches in the past. No, the last coach that I had that I tried, I think I went, well, I did. I went slower, and then I ended up doing it myself, and I started improving. But like up until then, I was always improving, doing it myself. And then when I went back to doing it myself, I was improving. So I was getting faster and faster. So it was like, kind of like after I changed things the first time when I didn't really need to, and then started going slower, it was almost like the saying, if it ain't broke, don't try and fix it. Like it was working before. So why change for the sake of change's sake? I would potentially have a coach, but it would have to be someone that I like the sound of, I guess, training. But then I guess people that would argue against that would say, yeah, but then are you just going to find a coach that does the same training as what you give yourself? So
Yeah.
so it's like, I don't know, like it's a tricky one, really. I don't feel like in my head I wouldn't get a coach, but then maybe I wouldn't get a coach because actions speak louder than words, and I haven't really like changed it. It's a bit. I guess it's a big jump, isn't it, when you've done it for so long yourself? Suddenly jumping into getting a coach, and then knowing, like, thinking, who would I get to coach me, and like, what about if it doesn't go better? If I've like, only got a couple more years left in the sport, and I can't really afford to lose a year. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I
Yeah.
went worse for a year, then that would be game over, really, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so I
Um,
got a few questions off of that to interrupt you. Is is one like when you're let's say you're really tired on like a big training day or a big block and you've written out what you think you're gonna do. How do you make those tough decisions when you're like, do I adjust this session or do I not? Because that's something I struggle with. Even my coach is obviously online, so I'm in person. And let's say I'm, tired or run down. I've got a hard Saturday swim or run or ride or whatever it is. And I'm trying to decide like, do I make this small adjustment? Do I change something? Do I just roll with it? Am I being soft? And I imagine that's even harder when you're completely self-coached, is making those decisions when you're buggered and you're like, I got to figure out if I'm going to do this session like it was written or not, or you just always hardcore.
It's interesting because I actually had that spring up on me this weekend, really. So
Yeah,
basically,
give us the deets. Give us the
yeah, so
deets.
I did a hard swim and a hard bike on the Friday. So the swim was like, it was one of them classic swim sets. You might have done it before, but it's one that I'd seen a few people and they'd done it before in the past. And I thought, I'm going to do it. So I did 40 50s, and it was
Oh,
like
yeah.
every 16 of them of 45, and every fourth one was fast. Then 12, and like with an extra 5 seconds, every third one was, then 8, and every second one was a fast one. And then the last four was all fast, and it was off an extra 5 seconds again. And then I did a little mini set where I did like 200 2 1s and then 450s, but it was off like quite hard. Like the 200 was off 250, hundreds were off
Yeah.
25, and then the 50s were off 40.
Oh,
These
yeah.
were that was with paddles though. That was with paddles for that, and it was short course.
Yeah.
Um, for that bit, and then I did a hard bike, 3.5 hours, 6 by 20 minutes. So it was pretty tough. And then on the Saturday, it was like I was going to do an easy swim, like 4K, but like not really any intensity, just like steady, like steadier swimming. But then the run, I was planning to do 7 by 2K. And I was going to start off at 3:30, so pretty like per kilometer, so quite easy. And then if I felt good, picking it up down towards like 3:10s per kilometer. But if I felt bad, then I was like, I'll just keep it between 3:20 and 3:30 as long as it's not slower than 3:30s. Like I don't really want to be doing that. And I felt bad for the run. So I was warming up and I didn't feel that great. But then sometimes you can warm up. I'd say like when I'm warming up anyway, I feel crap. So it was like,
Yeah.
didn't really know
I
how.
feel crap pretty much every time I
Yeah,
warm up.
I feel crap pretty much every time. So it's like I didn't really know how it was gonna go anyway. Didn't really. They did the first one, and it was like 3:26 per K, something like that, 3:25, 3:26, and I was like, I didn't feel that great. But anyway, as the session went, I was feeling pretty drained for the first 3. I felt a bit better on the 4th, and then I felt awful on the 5th, awful. But I was
The
hitting
freaking
the
roller coaster.
yeah, it was a roller coaster, and I was hitting the paces, but even when I say I felt a bit better, it was like I still felt crap. But I was hitting the paces, and aerobically, it was, like, mega easy, but I just felt terrible in myself, and then, like, my tummy felt awful, like, I was a bit bloated, but I was like, "Right, I'm just gonna sit." I got the 6th and I got the 7th one done, but then when I was on the 7th one, this is how bad I felt, right? So, I was doing the 2K reps around the park, and it's only 2K home from the park. So I was
Yeah.
like, normally I'd always run home. Like I've never done this before, but I felt that bad that I said to Techno, who was with me, I was like, "Oh, mate, I'm going to do a 500-meter run around this park, like little mini loop. And then I'm heading back home for the next 1,500 meters. So I don't have to run as far in the cool down." Because I was thinking to myself when I was doing the reps, I was like, in my head, I was like talking to myself and I'm like, man, I feel so bad. I was like, I wonder if Techno will run home for me and I can use his bike because I know we've got the same shoe size because I've given it my old shoes before. And that's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, I don't know if he'll be up for that. Like, I don't know if he will, but I wonder if he will. And then I was like thinking, right, fuck, I'm not going to take the chances. And I thought if I run around here, I'm going to end up having to flip and walk 2K back home because I feel rough. So I was like, I ran for the 1,500 meters of the way back home. And when I finished, I felt so bad. So I got to the house. I got home and like Laura's mum was babysitting. And I felt awful, and I said to her, I said, "Gail, I think you're gonna have to stay a bit longer because I need to go to bed. I feel absolutely terrible." And she's like, "Really?" And she's like, "I've done your dinner." And I said, "I can't eat anything." So I had a shower. I went to bed for like 90 minutes. And then Laura came back from work, and she was obviously thinking like, "Where the hell's Joe?" And then mum said, "He's in bed." Like, it was terrible. I was in bed, then I came back out, had some food. Anyway, next day, I was planning on doing like between like 4.5 and 5 hours on the bike with maybe like a few intervals, if depending on how I felt, and then a run off the bike. And I was going to do like an hour, but I was going to do 20 minutes easy, 20 minutes like a bit faster, and then 20 minutes like reasonable, like quite a decent effort at the end. But I felt terrible on the bike, and obviously because I felt so bad the day before, I was like, well, let's just change the plan here. Instead of doing like 4.5 to 5 hours, because I was like struggling to hit any kind of like power really. After about an hour and a bit, I
Yeah.
was not really holding that good of power, but it wasn't like I wanted to force myself to do it because I could tell I'd just be going way OTT. Like it would just be like, I'd really like feel it. So I just shortened the route. It was like 3 hours in the end, something like that, because by the time I realized how bad I was feeling, it was an hour and a half back home anyway. So it was
Yeah,
no way
yeah.
train home. There was no way I could make it any shorter. So I just did 3 hours and then I just sacked the run off because I was like, I could do the run if I wanted to, but I'm not going to be able to do it at any intensity and I'm probably just going to wipe myself even more. So I was like, just call it a day. So I just did 3 hours on the bike and that was it. And then today was an easier day anyway. But instead of trying to catch back up and do a run, what I was going to do today, I just decided, miss it, do what you were going to do and try and recover. And I feel so much better within myself now.
I
Whether or
think
not,
that's such a common mistake, like what you just said at the end is if someone missed a session, this is for like pros or age groupers, you feel like you need to make it up. And like I think that's one of the biggest mistakes of like, oh, I missed that run, so now I'm gonna add something on my easy day to make up for it. And I just never think that's a good idea. It's something like personally always want to do, but I just think if you probably took it off, it's probably for a reason, you know?
that's what I thought. I thought because I felt like that, I thought I'm just going to be doing more training on what would normally be the recovery day. And then it's not really going to be
Yeah.
the recovery day. And then it gets to Tuesday. And then when I wanted to do a bit more quality, I might not be able to do it. And then it's like doing an easy run for the sake of doing an easy run, but then compromising the actual quality sessions is going to do more harm, isn't it? I'm not going to get the best out of it. So I thought, just stick to the normal plan, accept that you've missed that run or whatever, and then you'll be back on it on Tuesday. And I do feel so much better now. So I think tomorrow will be quite a good day.
It's funny when you talk about, like, doing a session and then not sure if you're getting home. How many times I've been doing a ride session and being on, like, about to start, let's say, the last 20-minute interval, and I'm thinking, like, how am I gonna make it, like, the 20 minutes I'll be able to get through, but how am I gonna make it home after, like, the next 30 minutes? I don't know. And, yesterday was one of those days I had, like, just a solid endurance zone 2 ride, and, where I am in Flagstaff is Lake Mary is, like, this beautiful flat road, but what's amazing and not amazing is there's no lights, there's no anything, so you can just ride. If you ride 3 hours, you ride 3 hours, there's no stopping, and, which is really nice, but when you're cooked, sometimes a few seconds at a stoplight would be kinda nice, or, stop for a car or something. So, there was a few times yesterday where I just pull over and, stop on the side of the road and take a sip of water, and I was so dehydrated, I didn't even have to go pee. I would just stand on the side of the road for about 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and try to get my head around trying to get home. Uh, but it's just so funny where your head goes when things are bad, like, you're like, "I don't know if I can make it 1.5K home."
Oh, mate, it was grim. It was grim. You know them. You said you did it. You had a solid zone 2 ride. Like I've literally only just started doing like zone 2 training, which is like the first time in my whole career I've ever done it. But so I've got a
Yeah.
question for you. Like, what intensity do you go at for zone 2? Because it's like such a thing, isn't it? You look on the internet and like there's so many people have different examples of what they think is zone 2 or what's classed as zone 2. So like for you, what do you do? And did you just ride the whole 3 hours at that intensity, or do you break it up into, like, smaller bits?
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough question. Zone 2 is like the hype word, right?
Yeah.
So, uh, there's a ton of different things I've seen. One of them I just talked with my coach the other day. He sent me, and there was a study basically essentially debunking that zone 2 is a superior zone, and, essentially, it was like every zone will have aerobic gains, and zone 2 will also have aerobic gains, but it's not more than zone 3, 4, 5, 6, and on a 6-zone system. So, essentially, it was saying, like, yeah, zone 2 is good. Uh, obviously, there's less you need less recovery. I think that's the biggest thing that I've used in the last few years is, um, we don't use a ton of structure. I know some people, like, for example, I know Tadej Pogačar, when he would go do zone 2 rides, he would have structured periods in there that would be high-end zone 2, because that's such a big range. Like, for me, let's say at altitude's 30 watts less, uh, for me than sea level, so I'll go out and ride anywhere between, 180 and 240 watts here, which is a huge zone, uh, on TT. So that's what I did yesterday, and, there's not as much structure because I think with the hills, if you're riding on a hilly route, um, it's hard to have exact patches, unless you're basically if you're in the mountains, like, okay, I'm gonna do my high-end zone 2 up the hill, chill down the hill, and then reset into it. But, like, listening to you talk about it, it sounds like you're doing, like, on the high end of zone 2, almost entering low zone 3. Am I right?
Yeah, it was, like, high zone 2, yeah, and I find it quite hard. Like, aerobically, it's, like, really easy, but, like, just doing it at that intensity is pretty tough. I was just thinking to myself, what was I doing when we were in training camp in, like, a place called Gran Canaria? The climbs take between, like, an hour 40 minutes and 75 minutes really to ride up.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking when I was there on training camp, when I've been to some really hilly places like Font-Romeu as well, in the past, I guess I've always rode them at like zone 2 or zone 3, the hills, and I've gone really well off that training camp, but never really thought about it until recently. And it was like, oh, I probably respond quite well to zone 2 training because I've done quite a lot on training camps and always gone really well after it, but then you get the rest, don't you, where you go downhill on the flats where you're not really pushing it. So it was almost like you were doing like longer high-end zone 2 stuff on your like easier days when it's not like a session day, and it actually works quite well. So I've kind of been trying to break it up and doing what I was before, so like 40-minute to like 75-minute bits and just doing a few of them in a ride. But I find like high-end zone 2 quite tough because it's like mentally you've got to be on it a bit. You feel like you're pushing the whole way. Aerobically, it's not that hard, but it just fucking grinds you down. Like, I'd rather just do a fucking session of like 4 by 10 minutes or
Yeah.
something like at
Yeah,
threshold.
it's tough.
Done.
I think the toughest part of it is, like, when you're tired, let's say, like, for example, your Sunday, when you're tired, it's mentally the hardest thing. I mean, and zone 2 becomes harder. I've heard you talk about it too. Zone 2 is harder when you're more well trained. Like if you take off season and I
Yeah,
go out and I just ride at 180 watts, I'm probably in zone 2, especially at altitude. I'm
yeah.
probably at zone 2 without thinking much. But as you get in better and better shape, it's like you said, aerobically is fine, but it's just so hard because even the speeds, like, so yesterday, here's a fun game for you. Am I aero? Is my power meter messed up or is my loop fast? So I rode on just a training setup on the TT bike. I rode just under 37K an hour for 135K at 195 watts.
Cool. Yeah, that's good going. That's
Is my
pretty.
power meter cooked? Am I aero or none of the above? And it's accurate.
I reckon it's accurate. I reckon it's accurate. It's
Yeah.
quick. It's quick at altitude as well because
Yeah.
the air's thinner,
Yeah.
so it does make a bit of a difference. I when I did like when when you do these zone 2 rides, do you use heart rate as a guide or do you just use like power and it's like you're just trying to ride in that power zone?
I have like power heart rate, but to be honest, the zone 2 really depends on the week, right? Like for me, going out and riding 195 watts some days, like you said, could be hard. Uh, Not hard because it's hard, like it's hard because of what I've done in the days before. And sometimes riding 230 watts could feel the same or 240. Um, so I have all the factors, but I'm not a big like rock on like you have to follow this. Now, if I look down and I see my heart rate is way over zone 2, then I'm gonna chill out a bit. But typically, um, I'll ride on feel, and that will be pretty spot on. I've done it so much. One of the best things that ever happened to me, I think, was my power meter broke in 2023, and I had a SRM power meter. And for those who don't know, you have to actually send the whole crank in for them to fix it. But I'm always on 155 cranks at the time, and the options of 155 cranks weren't much. So I basically was like, "No, I'm not gonna send it in till my season's over." So I did 9 months without power, um, and it was probably the best thing I ever did. And when I came off that 9 months, we did testing right away, and it was the best I ever tested. But
Really?
yeah, crazy. So since then, I've been able to, which is again, I wouldn't. It's tough as someone, let's say, new to the sport, or even someone who's always been so reliant on power to go off feel. But from those 9 months on, I've never struggled with it anymore. I actually don't even have a head mount. I'll have a watch on my hand and off to the side because I do get so obsessed, like so many people, with the number. If it's right in front of me, I'll be staring at it for an entire ride for 4 hours of zone 2, just obsessing with a number that doesn't really mean anything, you know? Whether you push 200 watts or 207, your body doesn't, it's not like it's gonna change the world, you know? I think so many times people get obsessed with that.
Yeah, that's a good point. And also, you can read too much into how you're thinking and feel like you're on a terrible day, and then you might not either. You might cut a session short or not, do it as well. Whereas if you're just going by feel, it's like you're just going to go by what feels like threshold pace, aren't you? And the session's going to be done no matter what. And the power might be a bit lower, or it might be a bit higher, depending on what kind of day you're in. But you're going to do it, aren't you? Because you don't know how you're doing. It's just like whatever the reps are, you're just going to get it done, aren't you?
Yeah.
Um,
One of the things that was really cool was in that period, even running. So I obviously had a watch that worked. Sometimes on the track, we would do, let's say, like a broken threshold session. In the first 5Ks, we would run, test lactate, have the numbers, watch my splits through 400. And the second 5K at work, we would tape my watch, and I wasn't allowed to look at the watch, and I'd run on feel, and we'd take the lactate. And it's crazy how when you trust yourself, how close you are. Like I was pretty much spot on. My lactate was the exact same. I didn't get to look at my pace at all. And I'd run through 2K reps, 1K reps, almost the exact same as the first set, exact same lactate without looking at it at all, just trusting yourself.
yeah, wow. When you were racing like the last week, sorry to just go off topic, but you ran like basically almost the same time as what Alex Yee did, didn't you? At like Super League, like
Yeah,
I saw on Instagram, they posted a whole list of like fastest run times, and it said it was a K, and it was like basically like world record pace was.
yeah. Yeah, do you see this race? So this race was, we swam 300, then it was mandatory we had to put on our shoes.
I saw it.
We
It
had
was
to
like
put on
argy-bargy
our
on the set.
shoes. Yeah, run to transition. The bike was 3.3K on a narrow loop. So basically, wherever you got on the bike, you were just stuck, and then you got off and ran. But I was so terrible at putting my shoes on. I came out of the water third or fourth and got on the bike 14th of 16th guys and just rode there, and then had one of the fastest runs pretty much every leg. But uh, just terrible transitions, and that racing is crazy. Like, it's just the rounds were 12 or 13 minutes. Like, that's just like, for triathletes, that's just crazy. It's like it felt like I was just sprinting the entire way.
Did it?
Yeah.
What, I couldn't believe how close your run split, though, was to Alex Yee. Like,
Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
2 seconds over that distance is just, like, that's flipping good going, especially
yeah,
considering
it's
he's
not
down
bad.
to
Hey, the one thing that I'll tell the listeners is I've been away for a long time applying for athlete visa to be full time in the US. I've got it approved now, but I'd been away from home for 2.5 months. And so after Hamburg, which was 2 weeks ago, I made the smart or unsmart decision. I'm going to come back to Flagstaff for 7 days. And I don't care how it affects my Toronto performance. But anyone who knows altitude, if you have been away for 2.5 months and you go to altitude for 7 days and then you go and race, everything says that it's going to be bad.
really?
Oh, yeah.
And
Because
did it
7 days into altitude, you're adjusting. And basically, I chat GPT'd it after the race too to confirm. But chat GPT was essentially like, yeah, you will feel sluggish. Your performance will be 5 to 10% off, and don't expect any miracles.
is that what it said? Did it say that?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
Alex needs to watch out with the next one then, because if you were less than 5 or 10% off him, weren't you, on the run? So he's gonna have his work cut out.
yeah. I was, yeah. I finished eighth in the end. Like, I think 12 seconds or something off a podium, which is after 45 minutes of racing is not bad. But there's one in Chicago in a few weeks, so I'm excited to see that. But I've got some 70.3s even in September, so I'm trying to balance the training to do both,
How are
which
you
isn't always
balancing the
easy.
training? How are you
Th-
balancing it? Are you doing, like, heart speed decent run volume to help for the 70.3s, but then your sessions are more geared towards, like, Super League sessions, and you're just hoping that, like, the run volume will take you through for a 70.3?
Yeah, so I think my run efficiency is something that comes naturally to me. So over the longer distances actually probably suits me, just form wise in that. I actually don't have a huge VO2 relative to a lot of the guys I race against, which, I mean, I wish I had a bigger one. It's one of those things that it's kind of what, you could train and move the needle a little bit, but part of that is genetics. One of the things, hilarious stories I'll tell you is when I tested my VO2 for the first time in 2014, I was probably, this was pre-nutrition hype, and I was probably slightly underfueled and just, not eating enough. So I didn't have the same power and stuff that I do now. But my VO2 tested at a
Is
junior women's level world class. So I wasn't even on the junior men's, and I was a senior trying to go to the Olympics at the time. And I remember getting that result like a year and a half out from the Olympics and going, well, the odds are pretty much against me here. But in the same thing, my VO2 has increased since then. But that being said, VO2 max, just like everything, isn't the be all end all. There's ways to work around it.
Well, yeah, and it just shows, doesn't it? Like, you've been to the Olympics, you won the test event, so, like, before Tokyo, you were going in really as one of the favorites, weren't you? So it just shows that, like, it's not everything, is it? Because you've been there and you've done it, and you've won some massive races, haven't you? So, that's interesting, because normally when you hear people say it, they always say theirs is, like, absolutely massive, don't they? You never hear anyone actually say, "Mine
Yeah.
wasn't that great,
Feel
but
like
I'll
mine's
still."
actually, well, I mean, mine's massive compared to average Joe off the street, but compared to Christian Blumenfeld, I'm dog shit.
He must be really inefficient, though.
Yeah, I mean, he's just, I think with a guy like him, he's just so much outside of he's an outlier. And so I think so many age groupers and pros, we look at like his numbers or see him do stuff. And I think you just can't compare yourself to him. Like, I remember even, I've raced him so many years in ITU, and we finished ninth and 10th at the Olympics. Um, and we were running together in the last few K there. And I just remember thinking, like, we are so much different athletes on, swim, bike, run, physiology. And here we are competing for the exact same spot at the Olympics. Um,
Was he
and I
still
do
going
think,
full gas even when he was going for 9th place, was he still like all in? Like you
Yeah,
could.
so I'll tell you is I was running in 3rd place with 3K to go, 3.5K to go. I was running in 3rd place with the 2 French guys, and then I started throwing up. When you're throwing up, you're trying to keep it in
Oh,
your
the
mouth and so
Christian style, like he did in Frankfurt when he was last year,
yeah,
and he
you're
was.
just choking it back down. I didn't wanna lose the calories. Just awful going, and, I got dropped from them, and, when you get dropped from someone, you start to play the pity game, like, "Oh, I'm cracked, I'm done," and
Yeah,
then, Christian caught up to me, and, I was breathing, but I'm a fast twitch guy, so typically my ventilatory threshold is, like, I'm going hard, but you can't really hear me breathing a lot, versus
yeah.
Christian came up behind me, and he's going, "Ha, ha, ha, ha," and he was breathing at a level that I'm just like, "What? Like, how is this guy going so hard?" And I went from pity story to going, "Man, I'm not going that hard." I was like, "I can't let this guy beat me. He's going way harder than me." So I tacked onto the back of him and went, "Man, this guy, like, I'm being soft. This guy is so much harder than me." And so I went, "There's no way I can let this guy beat me. Like, he's hurting way more than me. Like, I'm just throwing up. Who cares? Like, man up, basically. Like, get to the finish line, beat this guy."
Did you beat him?
Yeah, I got him,
Was there a
in the
sprint
end.
finish between you two then?
He was, he was probably like 10, maybe 10 seconds behind me. I kinda let up at the end because I started throwing up across the line. For those who don't know, there's a few photos of me projectile vomiting across the finish line about
Oh, I
10
remember
times.
seeing that. Yeah,
Yeah,
forgot that was you. Like,
yeah.
I remember seeing
So, unrelated to the same, for sure, unrelated.
it. Did you feel absolutely fine before then? So you reckon,
Yeah, there I have a habit of swallowing water when I swim, just the way I breathe, so, if you ever wanna test, open water, just send me in the day before, and if I come out sick, then you know it's probably not good because I'll have drank half the lake or the river.
oh man, so you must have not swum in that water until the race day then, knowing that you're
No.
like.
Honestly, most of the when it's in, like, a pond or something like that, I usually won't do a pre-race famil because even if it's okay, I just rather not risk it because I know I just swallow a ton of water.
Yeah. You know when you, race, like the draft legal racing, do you find that more fun than 70.3s?
See, I've only done one proper 70.3. I'm about to go into a block, so I don't know if I can fully answer that yet.
T100 though. You did T100, didn't you, as well?
Yeah, but I was like I talked to you after that. I was so sick during it that I didn't get to when you're just getting your ass
Mhm.
kicked and you just feel so bad, it's not fun, you know?
Yeah. You
But
you need
like
to,
I didn't even push zone 2 in that race, running
really?
or riding. No, there's no chance.
Oh man, that is so disappointing when you go all the way to flipping Singapore and that happens.
Yeah, versus like Pucon I raced against Jason West, Manuel Messias, Matt Sharp. Like I raced against some good athletes, and I had a lot of fun there. Um, but I did just to go off topic a bit. I seen your moto little talk about motos,
Yeah.
affecting 70.3s and that, and it's the biggest thing in short course as well. Because if you get a front group away this year, there's been a few breakaways, and there's motorbikes within 20 meters, and everyone knows a motorbike within like 50 to 100 meters is going to help you. And they're so big and they just affect the race in short course and long course so much. It's crazy.
Oh, it's nuts, yeah. We need to get them, like, race ranger things on it and just see how often they are spending near certain athletes, like, in the races so we can see. Because I'm sure that I know they make, like, um, huge differences, but it's like the race organizers they don't wanna accept it. Like, I don't know if it's because, especially in non-drafting, they just want fast times and, in the short course, if they just want to get the pictures and they honestly don't care and they just think, "Well, someone's gotta win. Who cares? Like, whoever it is, it is." And,
Yeah.
it's just so annoying because it just makes it so unfair because people that are near the front just get a huge advantage on the bike, and a triathlon should be a test. You swim, biking, and running the same, shouldn't it? It shouldn't just be a case of, like, you get out at the front and then, like, you got, like, a whole load of motorbikes that are pulling you along. It's very frustrating,
It's
like, it's so
funny
anno.
even watching the tour, like the Tour de France,
Oh,
whenever
yeah.
there was a really good shot, I'd be like, "Oh, the breakaway is putting much time in because they've got 4 motos in front of them
Yeah.
right now." If you
That
ever are watching the tour and all of a sudden the gap goes like crazy up and it's like, wow, the breakaway is really pushing. It's like
yeah,
90% chances they have 4 motos in front of them and they're riding 55 Ks an hour.
yeah. Don't you feel like with the Tour, they do it to kind of make state to like influence the outcome of stages. Like if they want the breakaway to hang on a bit longer, just to
Mhm.
make it a bit more exciting, even when the bunch is going full gas, they just put the motorbikes in front of the breakaways just to string it out. So it's like it almost comes down to the last 4 or 5K in a sprint race, because they know it will make you keep watching it. Because obviously if the breakaway was caught like 15K to go, no one would really care, would they? They'd just be like, oh, this is a
Yeah.
bit
I mean, there
crap.
was one stage where there was a breakaway away, and in the chase group was like Vanderpool, Wout, Quinn
Oh,
Simmons, and they were just absolutely gunning it,
yeah.
the 5 of them chasing on, and they couldn't catch the leaders. And I was like, this has to be a motorbike, because these are basically
Yeah.
3 of the top 10 classic guys in the world right now, chasing as hard as they can, and they're not making any in-grounds.
Like 25 seconds behind them for like literally 70K, weren't they? And then it had a
And
couple
just
of nasty
drilling
climbs.
it.
Yeah, yeah, it was crazy. And then the climbs at the end were like 1K long, weren't they? 2 climbs, and it was just like Van der Poel went full gas up them and like almost caught them, didn't he? I think he finished like 6 or 7 seconds behind at the end. But yeah, up until that, they were just drilling it and just couldn't catch it. And it was just like, it didn't make any sense, did it? Because they got the gap down from like a minute to 20 seconds, didn't they? And
Yeah,
then
and it
that
just
was it.
stayed there. Vanderpool actually said after he didn't even realize that there was more guys. He thought he was winning the stage
Oh,
until
really?
the final stretch, and he saw them and realized he thought he had caught everyone by that point.
Oh, so he probably could have
Yeah,
gone harder.
yeah. Um, Joe, why don't we jump into some of these questions? Because I know we'll go off on tangents even on these questions probably, but you want me to read out the first one here?
Yeah, yeah, go for it.
Okay, so first question is just about to have shoulder reconstruction. Any thoughts on staying active through a long 8 to 12 weeks off? Layoff that will have a positive effect both mentally and physically for the eventual return. Not fearful of the operation, very fearful of where it will leave me as an athlete. You don't have to answer this, as I may just be venting. Thanks anyways.
Um, oh, how to stay active. I mean, depending on how bad it was, I mean, you could definitely walk, couldn't you, as part of your like getting back your rehab. I mean, I don't know how bad it would be, but like, would you be able to like after a week or two, like be able to cycle indoors?
I would
Like,
imagine so. Yeah.
yeah, like I would have thought, like, I mean, if you can cycle indoors, I mean, like, there's been who was it? Was it Matt Heyman? There's I don't know if you remember it, but like a few years ago, he had like a big crash, broke his collarbone, rode indoors for like 6 weeks, and then was riding outdoors like literally a week or so before Paris-Roubaix, and then won Paris-Roubaix, like rode off the front, like massive breakthrough result for him because he was like a domestique. But like, if you can ride indoors, which I know it's like a bit naff and it's boring, but if you've got the mental like resilience to kind of put up with it and actually do some good sessions, if you could do that, you could actually keep a lot of fitness. I don't know how it would be for running, depending on how bad it was, but, like, if you can do that after, like, I don't know, depending whenever you feel like it's good and it's not gonna make it worse, you won't lose that much, and I think the swim will come back really quick. Because I had a shoulder injury in December this year. I couldn't swim for, like, 6 weeks, and then I got back in the water, like, 3 or 4 weeks before Ironman New Zealand, and I didn't really swim that much. Like, I swam basically the same as what I would normally.
Yeah.
I was working a little bit harder, but it wasn't that big a deal. So I think for an amateur, like, you wouldn't really lose that much really, would you, if it's only
No.
8 weeks?
The only thing I would add is just honestly getting outside for a walk. Like you said, like I think sometimes part of the thing that people miss is, yeah, the training, but it's that being outdoors and just like being able to enjoy being outside. And sometimes going for a 30 or 60-minute walk can do wonders for the mental state of it. Maybe not the physical as much as like what you're saying, riding on the trainer, but
Yeah.
I coach a few athletes, and I think the mental side is when you're training 10 hours a week is just as much as the physical. If you're down in the dumps, it's hard to train.
Yeah, yeah,
So
definitely. Even like
finding joy in something that you can do, whatever that is.
Yeah, yeah, even, like, walking to the calf and stuff. Oh, one thing I wanted to say to you, what I meant to say earlier, so talking about, like, injuries, you said about, like, when you had your new coach and you had that, like, Achilles injury. How do you think Jakob Ingebrigtsen is gonna do when he gets back? Because obviously he's been going for an Achilles injury, and there's been, like one thing that I'm thinking is there's been no sign on his Instagram of a return race. It's not like, "Oh, I'm looking lining up for this race in 3 weeks or 4 weeks' time." It's like, it looks like he's back running, but I mean, it is Instagram. People can put anything on there, it could be old videos or whatever. But do you think he will be back for the world champs this year? And do you think he'll be back at the same level he has before? Because this seems like probably the biggest injury he's had. And obviously with you having gone through Achilles injuries, how bad was it for you? And what do you think?
So he's struggled with this for like 2 years now. Because remember last year he had a little niggle and it was the
Yeah.
Achilles as well. So I try to, anytime I hear someone has an Achilles in triathlon, I always message them and go, hey, if you got any questions, let me know, because I've been through the trials and tribulations of an Achilles. It's like one of the worst injuries you can have in terms of trying to come back, in the sense that you break a bone, you're off for 4, 6, 8, 10 weeks and
Yeah.
it's healed. The Achilles is never, because it's a tendon, it's never straightforward. It's not like follow XYZ and this is going to be perfect. My feeling is he will race, but he will not be 100%. I think, maybe he'll prove us wrong. He's one of the greatest runners of all time. So if anyone can do it, he can. But I'd imagine he's going to try to race no matter what and show up. If he doesn't try to race, then it's really bad.
Yeah.
But Achilles is one of those things where you can have tendonitis, you can have tendinopathy, which is more serious. You can have a partial tear, which is what I had, or a full rupture. So obviously, you don't want to get to partial tear or full rupture. That's bad news. But it could be just one of those things where he's trying to get rid of it completely. So in 3 years, when he really wants to try to actually win the Olympic gold, take down Cole Hawker, that it's not a thing. But he's pretty quiet. And I know I know for runners in Flagstaff, they play mind games on Instagram. Like
Really?
they're trolling each other. They're putting up stuff, and it's all a game. Because for them, it's with the shorter racing, it's so much mono, and it's so much ego, good and bad. Like I watched U.S. trials yesterday, and some absolutely crazy results. Even
I
in the
watched it,
200
mate.
meters, I don't know if you've seen the shove.
Yeah. What was that all about? Was it like Kenny Bednarek shoving Noah
Noah
Lyles?
Lyles. So Noah Lyles just got him at the line. He stared him down, and then he kind of slowed down in front of him across the line. Kenny gave him a shove, and then they looked like they were about to brawl. And even when they were doing the post-race interviews, because they do group interviews, they were still arguing when they came into them, and they said,
Were
"We'll
they?
sort this out later." Yeah, it looked like it was not a show. They definitely have some bad blood, which makes it exciting to watch. But you can't say that these two guys aren't putting up stuff to mess with each other.
You know, I the US trials, I just find fucking mental now, like, because the standard in America for like middle distance racing, I mean, even the sprints, is like you've literally got like Olympic medalists that are in good form that aren't even making the team. It's that competitive. It's
Yaron
literally like,
Naguse, fourth, didn't make the
yeah,
team, silver medalist.
yeah. Hobbs Kessler as well, like fifth place,
Yeah.
didn't make it, did he? Like, and Yaron Naguse, I felt so sorry for him because I watched the race and he like took it out and he tried to wind it up, and then they all came round him, and it was just like, oh man, like, so unlucky. I mean, he played his shot, and then I saw the 800, and Donovan Brazier like won it.
Wow,
Like,
what a run, hey? I was
yeah, and
almost
then
emotional. That guy, he's up in flags, so I've seen him run and stuff and just seen him
really,
around. But that guy is a guy who's been injured, basically out of the sport for almost 4 years, for those who don't know. Comes back, starts running a few fast times this year, go maybe, maybe. And before the race, I picked him to win. I just said, like, he's gonna have so much juice in the head of like, this is my race. And it's just so cool, especially I mean, you probably relate, I relate, like, as you get older, he's definitely on, like, the older side, and he's been through a lot. You kinda you tend to root for stories more similar to yours, and I carried a lot of, like, myself in his results, you know?
I mean, I think he almost retired, didn't he, a year or two ago? Like, people thought that he had retired because his injuries were that bad, didn't they? And then for him to
Yeah, I
come
don't
back,
know if he ever announced, but everyone just kind of assumed, "Oh, he's retired."
yeah. And then the 16-year-old, so for you guys listening, a 16-year-old got second place in the US 800 trials, and he ran a 1:42 for an 800 at 16.
One of the
Absolutely,
craziest athletic feats, I think, in history. 142 for a 16-year-old is just crazy.
with a 12-second last 100 meters.
It's just crazy. Yeah, he came flying from the back.
Yeah, it was nuts, and it just makes you think, could this be the guy that breaks David Rudisha's world record in a few years' time if he keeps going like that? Like,
I mean, that was kinda like Jakob Ingebrigtsen. he started running some crazy stuff when he was 16, 17, and we went, oh, maybe he's going to be the next best thing. And I mean, he was, right? But
Yeah.
it's so hard to tell.
Yeah. No, that was, I just, but the standard is just nuts. It was the UK champs on the same weekend. So I was like looking at the times in the UK one. I mean, our 1500 meters was running one in like 3:48 or something like that. And then the US one's running like 3:30, and like a 3:31 doesn't even qualify you for the world champs. Just,
Yeah, that's same with Canada. Canada had 5K and 1500, and the times I was obviously they're more sit and kick races, and so
yeah,
their strategy. But I'm like, I could run those times. Maybe not how they run them because they
yeah.
close so fast, but I'm like, I could run those times.
You'd be hanging on the back, and then when they start winding it up for the end, the gaps are just open a bit because they're like picking it up for the last
Yeah,
600
well, the
up.
Canadian they ran 1340 for the Canadian 5K, and I'm like, I could run 1340, but they closed the guy who won closed the last lap in 52 seconds.
Oh, that's good.
And I
But
was like, I don't think I could do that. Not
Josh
I
Kerr.
don't think, I know I could not do that.
Josh Kerr won our 5K in 13:40 something.
Yeah.
But they wound it. But they started off and they were going through. I think the first 2K was outside of 6 minutes,
Yeah, it's crazy, eh?
or around that. Around. So you'd be like cruising, wouldn't you? And then like they started winding it up to like some 60, 62-second laps. I think the last K was like 2:30 something.
Yeah,
Um,
it's ridiculous. All
that's-
right, I got another question for us, Joe. I'm gonna summarize, but essentially this athlete is saying, you know, they're doing 10 to 12 hours of training a week. Um, and they're looking to improve their run. And they're asking is doing a run focused block or a specific block, whether it's swimming, biking, or running, where you put the other two on the back burner. Is that something you think you believe in? Or is that something that's kind of not really?
I think it depends how bad you are at running or how badly you want to actually improve your running. Because, like, I mean, if you're like swimming and biking is miles better than your run, and this guy who said this, I saw this. He said he's only running 3 times a week, didn't he, as well? Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, like, if it's a lot worse than the others, then I would definitely say up in the running for a period of time, because I always find like once you get to a certain level in a sport, you can knock it back and maintain it a lot easier than getting that breakthrough. Um, but you'd need, I mean, it's like with running, it's like a hard one, isn't it? Because it's like you can't suddenly up it to like 5, 6 times a week because you're probably going to get injured. So it would have to be like, I mean, when he ups it, he'd probably only have to up it to like 4 runs, 5 runs, like build up to 5 runs for like a month, 6 weeks, or for like 2 months.
Yeah.
If you did that, especially doing it through the winter when the weather's bad, you could do that, up it to like 5 runs, build up to 5 runs a week, 2 good run sessions, a bit of a longer run, couple of steady runs, and you'd probably be, make some huge gains.
You know what I think's underrated on this too is without adding runs, is adding plyos or drills before and after different sessions, doing a specific routine. I think if you're on a lower mileage program or running less frequently, the biggest thing is your run efficiency. It's not your engine because you're obviously training swimming and bikes. Your engine is hot. Is adding stuff to like explosive drills that can kind of, basically add tendon resiliency. And so you're using you're running less muscular and relying more on tendons, which over the long haul is you're going to save a lot.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good point doing like the plyometrics and stuff, because that that does have some really good research on like how much it improves you, and also it's probably going to help you on the cycling as well. Because I know when I do some of the gym stuff, like what I do for the run and the bike, and both help each other. But that's actually quite undervalued, isn't it? Because you hear a lot of people saying about upping the volume and doing more sessions, but actually it's like instead of doing like some of the easier sessions, doing a decent gym session with some plyometrics and stuff is actually probably better value for money, isn't it? Especially if you're not doing any gym stuff as it is.
Yeah, and I think adding it onto your hard run days is kind of what I've realized can help a lot too, because you're already doing damage to yourself. Um, Doing gym on or plyos on a separate day just creates a whole new session and creates not the same recovery time because they are hard on your body, just like running.
So you do the plyos on the same day as a hard run session as well then, do you?
Yeah, I'll typically do them included in a warm up. So warm up might take an extra 5 minutes, but I see it as like this is part of the session. Like
All right.
this is rather than like, oh, I'm getting ready to run. It's like, yeah, I'm getting ready to run, but this is part of the session. And when I do them properly, a lot of times I'm way better as soon as the session starts as well without even thinking about it because I've actually properly warmed up, even because I've
Yeah.
treated it as like, this is a session. I need to do this.
It's like it acts as a bit of a primer sometimes, but also in your head, if you did feel worse after it, you'd be thinking this is all part of the session. It's not like this is almost like the first part, the main set kind of thing. Not
Yeah. And
like
I think they're even more important now with super shoes because so many people are running super shoes all the time that you lose a little bit of that oomph that maybe you would have got from running in non-carbon shoes. So I think now more than ever, it's become even more important.
good point. I actually saw on your Instagram as well. It looks like you run barefoot on the grass next to your track as well.
Yeah, so I'll cool downs for sure. I try to get in at least 15 minutes twice a week on the grass, depending on where I am in the world. But if it's an option, I love to do it. I think it helps my Achilles and it also just it keeps me strong. Like I warm up in non-carbon. For example, that day I worked out in carbon just because it was fast reps and then cool down without. So in my head, I'm hitting all three stimuluses. And so I think I've seen a lot of stuff of like carbon versus no carbon, but my opinion is anything in small amounts is okay. I think if you run 7 days a week and you're running in carbon every day, it's terrible. And if you never run in carbon, it's probably also not good.
We need a carbon ban, don't we? Bring it back to the old school.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like a lot of the guys I race in ITU because they're younger have never not
Yeah.
run in carbon, you know?
Really?
Yeah,
God.
versus, like, the 2016 Olympics, I ran in, like, it was a phase when they were, like, minimalist flats, and they were,
Yeah.
like, 3 ounces, you could barely, like it was basically running barefoot, and I
Yeah.
remember after every race, your calves would just be absolutely torched. You could not race nearly as much, no?
I can remember, yeah, I remember racing in, doing Ironmans in like racing flats that were like 160 grams. I don't know what that is in ounces, but they were like flipping light. You could barely feel them, like lighter than the super shoes now. And yeah, your legs would be so bad, especially in the race. I remember like once you started getting after like 25K in, you'd just be like trying to survive. And that was like, it was fun because there used to be so many more blow ups and people falling back and stuff like that. It added an extra dynamic to the races for sure.
Um, alright, I got one more question for us. Well, the question is short, but it says, "Brick runs, how long? What type of intensity?" So this is kinda pretty broad.
Yeah, I definitely think brick runs. Like I've noticed before when I done do 'em, I definitely done run as well in an Ironman. I like for me, if you're training for an Ironman, for me, I think what works really well is doing a run off your long ride, like soon after getting back. That definitely makes a difference. I know some people are like people are so opinionated on brick runs, aren't they? Because a lot of people don't rate them at all and they don't do them. But I think running off a long ride doesn't have to be long. Like for me, one that I was always doing was just run into this like trail, not trail, but like this long path that we've got near us. It's only a mile away. And then we'd do 15 minutes out and it would be at target race pace or race effort, I guess you'd say. So it was always like it was always quicker than what you'd end up holding for an
Yeah.
Ironman. And then you come back and you had to get back under 15 minutes, which is what it took you to go out. And it always would. You'd normally take like a minute off. So you'd be coming back pretty hard. So for instance, like I'd do a long ride, I'd run down there, which would be a mile, nice and easy, 15 minutes at like 330 to 335K pace, turn around, try and get back quicker, and I'd try and get close to like 320s. So
Yeah.
not super fast, but after like a long ride, and bearing in mind it's not in carbons or anything like that, it was quite tough. But then when you get off the bike and you run in an Ironman, you only got to start off running 340s to 345s, which is like a quick pace. It felt so much easier because you were used to doing it week in, week out. And I definitely noticed when I wasn't doing them so frequently, I wasn't running so well in a race. And it was kind of like a bit of a bonus session as well. And if you wanted to, you could always take a minute uh, rest after 15 minutes. Depends on how you are. Normally I just do it straight away. So I just turn after 15 minutes and get back and just aim to get back quicker. Works out like just over 5 miles. So it's not that long.
I mean, there's the mental and physical side of that too, right? It's like, I'm a big believer in brick runs too, but when you do just run fresh all the time, I mean, not like your last session, sometimes you do feel like crap, but a lot of times you don't feel too bad, like you're used to running pretty quick. I think there's
Yeah.
the mental side of it of running when you feel like shit,
Yeah.
running when things don't feel good, whether it's a Olympic sprint, Ironman, half Ironman, like you're never going to feel amazing getting off the bike. And if you do, then great. Like then it's a home run, But like you
Yeah.
said, like, oh, 3, 4, 5's, oh, great. But there's going to be a time when you feel like absolute dog shit. And if you haven't trained for it, then like mentally you're just like in this new spot and you're like, I don't know what cues, I don't know what to, rely
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. Most of the time when I was doing that run, most of the time in races for starters, in an Ironman, I never feel that good. Like sometimes I feel good at the start. I'd say it's 50-50 where you feel good at the start. Like if you do, like you say, if you feel good start at the start, you're on for a great race because it only gets better before it gets worse. But doing that run off the bike, I would always get in off the bike and I'd never want to do it. I'd always feel pretty fucked because
Yeah.
sometimes you've done some intervals, and even if you hadn't done intervals, it was probably because you were pretty tired. So you were still out there for like 4.5, 5 hours and you never wanted to do it. It'd been so much nicer to just like be like, right, I'm done. I'm having a few hours chilling out, like, and just whatever, relaxing. But going out and doing it, and you'd always run down there and I'd always think to myself, cool, I don't know how this is going to go today. Then as soon as you'd start, it was like a switch that flicked. And you'd always do it, and it would always be better than what you thought. And yeah, and I think that gives you a lot of confidence in the races when you don't feel as good. Cool.
Yeah. I will say my first ever brick session off the TT bike last year. Um, I literally rode the TT bike once or twice and then did a full long brick session. And I got off the bike and, you changing your shoes and that. And I thought I had injured myself because my ass was so sore. It felt like bruised. And I've never had that sensation. And I remember warming up, like same thing, jogging over, going, I don't think I can do this session. And as soon as it starts, you snap into it and you do it and you get it done. But that 5 to 10 minutes of putting your shoes on the couch is like one of the worst feelings. And you're like, should I slam a Coke? What do I need to do to get this thing going?
Yeah, yeah, no, that's exactly what it was like.
Yeah, for those of listening, we're gonna release this episode in the probably coming days, and then on Patreon. So if you're a fan and want to jump on board, Junkyard Dogs, join us there. Some cool content behind the scenes and some early releases, and then this episode following that a bit time after will come out online on all your streaming platforms that you want. But if you like the episode, drop a comment. Those are appreciated. Like, share, anything like that. Joe and I are first episode, so there's probably some things we're going to work through and seamless up, but I think it's a good first episode, and we'll look forward to episode 2.
Yeah, no, awesome, Tyler. I think you've summed it up brilliantly there, and looking forward to the next one. And guys, check out the Patreon. Some great stuff coming there because me and Tyler is great because we get a perspective on both things. Like Tyler doing the really short distance and up to 70.3s, and then me doing some 70.3s and up to Ironman. But yeah, we're gonna have a whole mixture of these different content as well. So head over there, and you can always ask questions and give us like points that you want to hear on the podcast, and we'll do our best to bring them up. So great chatting to you, Tyler, and good luck with the rest of the week. And I'll catch you next week.
Later, Joe. Thanks.